Hello, and welcome to my presentation of the Poetics of Space for English 201 Intro to Lit. Let's begin with some of the goals that I have to accomplish for this multimedia presentation. The first one is to paraphrase and analyze Gaston Bachelard's The Poetics of Space. Next, I have to present a detailed connection between this passage and a work of literature I have read in this class. For that work of literature, I'm going to do Seamus Heaney, the Digging poem. So, let's begin. Bachelard's Poetics of Space. I chose to do the first option for this one because I liked the imagery that it presented, and it was overall just something that really interested me. So, here it is. On page 47 of Poetics of Space, it says, "But much is to be gained for a psychologist of the imagination. If 'tis social, he adds cosmic reading. He comes to realize that the cosmos molds mankind, that it can transform a man of the hills into a man of the islands and rivers, and that the house remodels man." So, evidently, we can see a lot of interesting things coming from just one simple quote in this book. Let's see. So the analysis version, a psychologist of imagination. So I think what Bachelard is saying in here is that we as readers of literature do this each time we read and try to analyze something. Psychologist is one who studies something, so Bachelard is saying that readers are studying imagination in a sense. I think this is overall really interesting and something that caught my attention because I never really compared psychology and literature before, but after hearing reading what Bachelard said, it was really interesting, caught my eye, and I was able to make the connection between psychology and literature just because of one simple phrase that he used. So, also in this poem, a significant phrase that he uses are the hills make a man of the hills and islands and rivers. So he says that the social is a common thing in reading, but we also just often look at the social view, not the connection between the cosmic view. So the cosmic would be the connection and relationship between the world and reading and literature. He says that in his quote that Cosmo molds mankind and the environment molds mankind as well. So what I think this means is that wherever we are, whatever we're doing, however we're interpreting things, the social or the cosmic aspect are shaping us in one way or another. Overall interpretation, I think Bachelard did a wonderful job using vivid imagery. For example, the hills, the islands, and the rivers. We are able to see how he used the hills of mankind and the islands and the rivers. And not only do we remodel houses, but houses remodel us. So, like Professor Schneider said in his lecture for this week, when we move into a house, we often remodel it, but after a while, the house will eventually remodel us, and we're able to see how the environment that we're in shapes us, and that's also a part of the cosmic aspect. So, not only do we shape the world, but the world also shapes us, which I think that was an interesting thing. I mean, I often think that I'm the only person shaping the world when in reality the world is probably shaping me so much more than I realize. Every encounter we have, every interaction, the cosmos is at work shaping us into different types of humans. We must be good psychologists of imagination, as Bachelard said, and make sure that the imaginations that we have remodel us into good people. So now to bring in a connection between Bachelards and a new poem that we've read previously in this course, I chose to do Seamus Hanley poem Digging. So I'll read this really quick and then we can begin to go through it. So, Digging. Between my finger and my thumb, the squat pen rests, snug as a gun. Under my window, a clean rasping sound. When the spade sinks into gravelly ground, my father digging, I look down. Till his straining rump among the flower bed bends low, comes up 20 years away, stooping in a rhythm through potato drills where he was digging. The coarse boot nestled on the lug, the shaft against the inside knee was leverly firm. He rooted out all tops, buried the bridge edge deep, to scatter new potatoes that we picked, loving their cool hardness into our hands. By God, the old man could handle a spade, just like his old man. My grandfather cut more turf in a day than any other man on Toner's bog. Once I carried him milk in a bottle, corked sloppily with paper. He straightened up to drink it, then fell to right away, nicking and slicing neatly, heavily sods over his shoulder, going down and down for the good turf, digging. The cooled smell of potato mold, the squelch and slap of soggy peat, the curt cuts of an edge through living roots awaken in my head. But I've no spade to follow men like them. Between my finger and my thumb, the squat pen rests. I'll dig with it. So a summary of this poem is the speaker is at his desk about to write, but then he's distracted by his father working out in the garden. This brings back memories to the speaker's childhood, and the memory stretches further back to his grandfather's work in the field and how hard that type of work was. This made the speaker realize that he or she does not want to work in the field like their father and grandfather, and that he has a different plan for himself than what his father and grandfather did. The speaker now knows that he or she needs to have control over their life and not follow in someone else's footsteps, such as his father or his grandfather. So the connection between digging and the poetics of space. The speaker in Digging was shaped by his father and grandfather's decisions to be field workers. Those decisions made the speaker realize that he did not want to do the same thing that they did. This is an example of how the speaker was shaped by the social aspect, but also in a way the cosmic aspect, because he or she knew that the world had a different plan for him or her. The father and the grandfather were men of the fields, like how in Bachelard's quote, he said, "Man of the hills." Ultimately, we are shaped by something, whether that is social or cosmic. In conclusion, like I just said, we are all shaped by something, either cosmic or social. We, as readers, are psychologists of imagination in every piece of literature that we encounter. So thank you for listening to my multimedia presentation for this week, and I look forward to listening to some of your guys's.